Hi guys, welcome back. So I don't know who if y'all heard, but so I kind of am losing my voice. I'm not sick, I promise, anything like that. Um, I had too much fun on a roller coaster and was screaming a lot. So my voice is kind of gone. It's coming back. We're good. But please let me know if I'm not clear or if you can't understand something. Um, just let me know and I can kind of repeat myself. Okay. Let's see. Let me open up my chat. So I have that ready. Okay. So if some of you guys who were here last week remember, I said we were going to be starting with time and numbers this week. And I think I ended off by telling you guys that you will be able to, I'm not going to sign it right now because I don't want to show it to y'all, able to go up to 999 on one hand. And so we are going to be doing this. Do not stress. I promise we're not going all the way. Like technically we go all the way up to the millions, but I'm not saying we're going to be saying like 1,977, blah, 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 blah. We're not going to do that. It's not going to be that. It's just after about 100, it gets to be a certain sign you add to the number. So it's really cool. I love it personally, but I don't want y'all to be like, oh my gosh, I have to memorize all these different numbers. No, no, no. It gets to be
But
like
I
a
also
pattern.
want to remind everybody that you're a math teacher. So
I am. I am. So I do get a little giddy and nerdy on my math. Can't help it. Something it's just me. It's just me. But okay. So getting started, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the first thing we're gonna do is the sign for number. So the sign for numbers, you're gonna have two little like flat zeros, and you're gonna go number, 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 number. This one you'll probably see me do. You probably even noticed, you might have noticed last week when I was doing the practice of the ABC like words, is I would go number one, that kind of thing. So number. Okay. I'm gonna say this one. I know this is one's kind of like everyone knows, but I've forgotten it in other classes before, so I just want to make sure everyone gets it. The sign for zero, which is just so zero. I know, not a big deal, but I literally will leave this one out every time. So I have to put it in there. And then we have one. One is going to be one we already know. Then two is two. So three is going to be different. Three is going to be your thumb. Three. Then four, we know. Five, we know. And then, so six is where we're going to do that three looking motion. Okay. Then we're going to do, well, actually, you know what? We're going to stop right here before we go to the other ones because I want to review those. So we had the sign for number. So number. Then we had 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay. So the reason I wanted to stop here is I wanted to explain how 6 through 9/10 is going to do. 6 through 9 is going to almost kind of do a pattern where it follows back to your thumb. I know that does not make sense right now. You'll see what I'm talking about. So you know how with 6 we had our pinky and our thumb. 7 is now going to be our ring finger in our thumb. So 7. Then 8 is going to be our middle finger. 8. Then 9 is going to be our pointer finger. 9. And then 10 is going to be a thumbs up and you shake it. 10. So the reason I started with that is I wanted you to visually know it's almost like 1 through 5 is you're building up your fingers to where they're all standing, and then 6 through 9 is going back to your thumb. That just kind of be like a helpful pattern, just so that way it makes it easier to remember. Because I know 6 through 9 is sometimes ones that's like, ooh, that's like new number. That's very new. So let's do our 6 through 10 again. So we had 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. 10. Okay, awesome. So another thing I'm going to add in here, kind of take a little break and explain, is if you guys have probably know well, some classes have noticed, some won't really say anything, but I'm going to bring it up now, is how to tell the difference between the number 6 and the letter W versus the number 9 and the letter F. So this is where you would do that sign for number to really help. I feel like I'm so low. Hold on. Let me see that's better. Okay. This is where you would do the sign for number before it. And then for the letter, the sign for letter is an L, and you're going to put it on your pointer finger. Letter. Letter. So typically, most of the time when you're doing something like if you're doing a phone number, that you don't really have to worry about doing number 2, number, number. You don't have to worry about that because most of the time when you're asking for a phone number, it's going to be a number. There's not really any letters. That context clues kind of helps to kind of come into play, and we don't have to really emphasize the number part. Same thing kind of goes with if you're talking about names. Most of the time, people do not have numbers. I almost said letters, have numbers in their names. Most of the time, they are just letters. So if you were saying your name is Waverly, you wouldn't have to worry about going letter W, Waverly. You wouldn't have to worry about that. Just go ahead with the Waverly. A lot of times you'll notice in ASL, it is very much context clues really come into play, and they really help you kind of understand, oh, in this context, you would do this, or so and forth. I'll probably say that a lot, so get used to me saying that. And I know you're like, well, how would I know? You really do. When you ever have a conversation and you practice, you'll be like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. But if you
Hey,
were going to
Gillian, I was going to say that the one place it really makes sense is, I think you mentioned before, in passwords. I know you're not supposed to tell other people your passwords, but that would be a case where you would definitely need to be able to differentiate.
the numbers and the letters, right? So that is my little explanation about the W's and the 6s and all that. Okay, let's go back through 0 through 10 again. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna voice it first and then have you guys sign it, and then I'll assign it after y'all, okay? So we had 0, 1, 2, 3. No, you're good. 4, 5, good. 6, 7, good. 8. So 8, you want to make sure is your ring finger. Ring finger. Other one. There we go. Wait. Let's see. Hold on. So we have 6, 7, 8. Melissa, you are still saying 7. I know you're totally good. 7 and 8, I kid you guys not. Like I say this every time. These are the most confusing numbers, okay? Because they're so easy to do. That's why I was like 8. And then I realized I'm just I'm not glaring, but like staring at my screen. And everyone's probably like, am I doing it wrong? No, sorry. But yeah, so yeah. 7, 8. Then we have 9. 9. And then our 10. 10. Okay, so now we're going to do 11 through 15. And so for 11 through 15, you're going to kind of have the back of your hand facing the other person. So you're almost looking at your palm, okay? We're going to start with 11. So 11 is just flicking one finger up. Then 12 is going to be flicking 2 fingers up, 12. Excuse me. Then 13 is you're going to stick your thumb out, and now you're going to make the come here motion. 13. 13. 14 is going to be the 4 fingers. Do that same motion of bringing it towards you. 14. And then 15 is when the thumb comes back out again. 15. Okay. It is important you make sure the back of your hand does kind of face out and you're kind of having it towards you. Because if you do this, they're going to think you're saying bye-bye. They're not thinking you're saying 15. They're going to think you're saying bye-bye instead of 15. So let's do 11 through 15 again. All right, so we had 11. 12, 13, 14, and 15. 15. Okay. So that one again is kind of the same way as the 1 through 5s where you just kind of build up your fingers, that sort of motion. So that's another kind of, it's helpful to remember, okay, this is like the same. Okay, so for 16 through, we'll do 16 through 19 right now. 16 through 19, there are 2 different ways you can sign it. I'm going to show you both. Really, this is just kind of a personal preference. Whichever one you kind of are most comfortable with, which one you most are like, oh, this feels natural, that sort of deal. So for 16, the first way is you're going to make a 6 and you're going to shake it. 16, 16. The other way is you're going to have your pinky bounce on your thumb. 16, 16. That one is not always the most comfortable one at the beginning because you're like, ow, that kind of hurts. So typically I see a lot more time for ASL beginners, the shaking 16. So, and either way works, 16 or 16. Like I said, even though I do see more beginners starting with the 16, does not mean like if you were talking to someone, they go, oh, they're just basic, they're just beginners. Like they wouldn't really care, 16 or 16. Okay. Then we have 17. So we're going to make our 7, shake it. Or we're going to now have our ring finger bounce, 17. I told you, if you're like, this is not it, don't worry about it. I'm not going to be like, you have to do it exactly this way. No, if you're like, this is my preference, go for it. So 17. Okay. So as you can tell, we kind of have a pattern. So 18 is going to be 8 and shake it, 18. Or 18 with the bouncing, 18. Okay. And then our last one, 19, 9, you shake it, 19, or 19, 19. There you go. Yeah. 19. Okay. So let's go back 16 through 19. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it to where you guys get to pick which one you want. If you want to do the 16 or the 16, I'm going to let that kind of be up to you guys. And then we'll just kind of go through 16 through 19 again. Okay. So we had 16, 16 or 16. Then 17, 17 or 17. 18, 18 or 18. And then 19, 19 or 19. Okay, good. So for 20, what we're going to do for 20 is we are going to make a little baby shark. That's basically what I think about. I don't know if any of y'all know what I'm talking about when I say baby shark, but that's what comes to my mind every time. It's baby shark. So this is 20. Okay, so we're going to review 0 through 20, but before we do that, I am going to explain just so that you guys know that there's an end to the numbers that we keep doing. I promise. Okay. So the pattern that we'll start to notice a little bit already is after about 25, is we're going to be kind of after 25. So 26 and up to 99 is going to be a similar pattern. Okay. Right now we're starting with our numbers that have their own individualized sign, but then after about 25, so 26 and up, like I said, they will start to have a pattern to them that you will be able to see and catch. And so it won't be as like having to memorize every single sign. Okay. So I did want to tell you there's an end to this. I promise. It's not going to be like you're having to memorize a specific sign for 37. Like, no, there's a certain way to it. So let's do our 0 through 20, and then we'll do 21 through 25. Okay. So I think I'm going to do it again where I voice first and then I'll sign it afterwards. So we had 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, good, 6, 7, good, okay, 8, 9, and then 10, okay, 11, 12. So you want to make sure that thumb is hidden when you do 12, because if you add that 3, it makes it 13. 13. 14. 15. 16. 16. So you can just have a 6 and shake it. Yeah. 17. 18. 19. So 9, shake, or 19. And then 20. 20, baby shark. Good. Honestly, you guys should be really like impressed with yourselves and give yourselves a good pat on the back, because y'all got 1 through 20 pretty much without me needing to help you. Like, and like, nothing against my other classes, nothing against that, but they typically need a little extra minute of practice. But you guys were just boom, boom, boom. You're like, okay, we got it, we have it, let's go. So good job. Okay.
Yeah, at the expense of my muscles cramping up.
That will happen. ASL is not one of those ones where it's almost a workout. You almost get a workout in your arm at first. Yeah. Oh yeah, trust me, I get it. Like you almost get sore after a while and you're like, wow, okay, that was like a workout there. So, but yes, y'all did good. Especially I was real impressed. The 3s, I kid you not, that is like probably going to be one of the hardest ones to remember. Not necessarily that you don't know the sign, is that it's such a habit to do this for 3. It is a big habit. And I mean, it happens every time. And for me, I've gotten now to a point where if I see people do this for 3, I stare at them and my instinct is now 6. So it's always interesting because like a lot of my friends don't know ASL, and so then we'll be like going out to dinner and we'll have a big group, or we'll have there's just 3 of us, and like the person at the table like asking for how many seats, and my friend will go 3, and I will go, oh no, yep, okay, 3, because I'm so used to it. It's like that kind of thing. But once you do it, I don't know, I think it's kind of cool to be like, that's not 3, that's a 6, this is 3. Just a little like teasing with everyone. I love to do that. Sit. Okay, let's now do our 21 through 25, okay? So for 21, we're gonna start with this L shape, and you're gonna bounce your thumb. 21. 21. Then we have 22. So 22 is you're gonna have a 2, and you're gonna go 2, 2. 2, 2. I mean, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, Emily. That was an amazing comparison. I've never made that connection before. So sorry. If you saw it, she was talking about how the 21, it makes sense of like 21, like the gun salute for like, for funerals, for the military, things like that. Or
Mind blown.
I'm literally mind blown right now. There are times like this where it just comes into the class where I'm like, oh my gosh, the connection was there. So I love that. I've never thought of that. I just kind of accepted that.
That's how I was originally taught in 2001 in grade school.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that
And
is so
they said, oh, 21, like the 21 gun salute.
I love that. Like now I'm gonna have to use that every time I talk about 21 because I mean it's the same
Like I'm
concept.
never gonna forget it now.
I know, right? It's like the X marks the spot for pirates and stuff that my brain kept always having that weird connection. It's never gonna leave me again. Oh, I love when that happens. Okay, awesome. Sorry, totally sidetracked. So we had our 21. Then, like I said, for 22 is you're gonna have that 2 and you're gonna go 22. 22. So 2, 2, 2, 2. Then we have 23. 23 is you're gonna make a 3 motion and your middle finger is gonna bounce. 23. 23. If this one feels weird, that's normal. It's kind of like your hand's not used to bouncing like that. So if you're like, what in the world? Yeah, it's normal. So 23. 24 is going to be 2, 4, 24, 24, 24, 24, and then 25. So 25 is going to have your hand out. Your middle and ring finger are going to go together and bounce. 25. I almost think like Spider-Man. I don't know. That's me though. I love me some Spider-Man. So like I think about like the Spider-Man motion. So 25. Okay. So let's go back through those 5 again. So we had 21, 21, 21, 22, 22, 23, 23. So you make the 3. Wait, there you go. And then bounce that middle finger. 23, 24, 24, 24. 2, 4. And then 25, 25. Okay, good. So I have 2 more things to add with this. I know your guys are probably like, wow, she just keeps talking. There's just a lot to explain, and I like to give you kind of exposure and, information for different things that kind of connect. So what you probably noticed when we did with our 22 and our 24, we did the similar-ish thing. We did that bouncing. So 22, 24. That's basically what you do for numbers onward. So like for 26, it's 26, 27. You don't always have to add that big bounce. Typically, if it's like double numbers, like 22, 33, that's where you'll see more that intense, that bouncing. But if you're doing things like 26, 27, it's 26, 27. I need to lift my hand higher. 26, 27, 28. You can kind of do it like smaller motions. You don't have to make this big 28, 29. No, it's like 29, 29, 29. Okay. Now, with that being said, though, I do want to let you know I'm not going to be teaching all this because it gets complicated fast, but I did want to just let y'all know, especially because I do have a tendency to do this. There is another way that some people will do their 20s where they'll do, for like 22 is fine, 24, they'll go 20, they'll do the L and go forward, 24. 26, 27, 28, 29. That it's another way of doing numbers, but I think it get complicated when you're a starter and you're kind of just learning it. So we're not going to learn it, but if you notice someone doing this, that does mean they're doing like a 20 or a 2. Okay. I can do that. I didn't when I was learning ASL. I was all 2s like this. And then my school, basically I changed and suddenly was doing the 20s with this. So if you see that, that's why. I don't want to be able to be me. Oh my gosh, you guys, I cannot talk right now. I don't want y'all to be thinking, oh, okay, so 24, and then you see me later go 24, and you're like, okay, girl, you just told me it's 24. What's wrong with you? So I wanted to let y'all know that sometimes that does change, but we're gonna just do the 24s for now, okay? So what I was going to say from now onward is what we're going to do is I was going to explain. So like we did, like I said, so we do like 26, 27, 28, 29. I did want to talk about the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. What you do for those is you're going to do that 3 and you're going to pull into an O. 30, 30, 30, 30, 30. So you want to make sure we don't end in a no. We just do 30, kind of like end in a 0. 30, 30, 30. Then we're going to do for 40, it's going to be 40, 40, it's 40. You almost like pull that 4 into itself. 40, 40. 50 is going to be the same way. 50, 50. Then 60, you're going to have that 6 and you're going to go 60, 60. It's kind of like you almost rest your pinky and your thumb out more so your fingers can rest on it. 60. 60. 70 is going to be 70. Ooh, 70. Sorry, I'm so used to doing fast. 70, 70, 70, 70. It's just the 7 and the O. I know I'm doing it, trying to slow down, but I'm so used to, when you're doing numbers, sometimes you just go like 70 so fast like that. It just kind of was like fast motion. I'm trying to not go fast right now. 70. Then we have 80, 80. That is so true. You're going to be yelling at your hands. I promise you, your fingers are going to be like, that was not the number I was saying. It happens. I've done that multiple times because sometimes they don't behave. And then we have 90, 90, 90, 90, or 90. Some kids will do this like 90, but 90. Okay. I know that was a lot of numbers, right? Going, I just wanted to show you guys how you do your tens. Is you just have that 0 there. But basically from all the way up to 99, you will be doing the same 99 motion. Okay. So it'd be like 81, it'd be 81. 47 would be 47. 32 would be 32. That sort of thing. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to change it up than what I normally do on these classes. I'm going to say a double-digit number, and I'm going to have you guys just sign it to me, okay? If you get the number wrong, it is totally fine. Do not stress. This is not a race. This is not a race. Okay? All right. So the first number, so number 1 we're going to have is 68. I picked a really hard one, didn't I? So you're going to go 68, 68, 68, 68, 68, 68. I'm going to do an easier one. I realized I chose a very complicated one. Let's do 31. So 31, 31, 31. Okay.
Does it matter if your fingers are together or spread apart?
You do want to try to keep them spread apart. If like your hands, like it's harder to do that with. I mean, we do have people who sometimes, we have students who can't even properly get their hands in that position. If you have to have them together, that's okay. But I would try, if you can, to have that 31, that 3 spread. But again, if it's like, you're like, that is hurting, I cannot do it. If you have them together, it's fine. It's just, it can get easily confused. So what else because this hand shape can do another sign. So it can get kind of confusing. So, okay. Before we move on to 100, does anybody have questions for me right now? How are we feeling? Are we feeling good? Feeling, I know it's going kind of fast. Good? Okay. So, like I said,
Can I ask kind of like a general question?
yes.
Yeah. So just when you were like doing your 90 over and over again and stuff like that, for instance, and even though it's just like one motion, but you were repeating it over and over again to explain it to us. So just kind of for ASL in general, how would you show that, you're repeating the same answer over and over again as opposed to it being a new, answer or something like that? Like, how do you differentiate between, hey, I'm doing this over again as opposed to these are 2 separate statements that are the same thing?
Okay, that's a good question. So, first thing is like, typically when you're talking about like numbers or things like that, if it is just a basic simple number, like I was doing the 90, let's say you're talking about like age or you're answering like a question and you just keep repeatedly doing 90. That's not going to change as much as knowing that this is just 90. Because sometimes you don't always do 90. You just kind of, I don't know, it's almost like a natural like comfortableness if you just kind of keep going with it, 90. But if you were talking about let's see, I'm trying to think of a good question for this. Like you have two of the same numbers or they're the same. I would recommend trying to almost separate it. So 90, 90, 90, 90. Like how I did that motion of how I separate. This is to show like it's one side is here is like 80, 90, whatever. This is also 80. That kind of shoulder motion. This we won't be able to go into too much of this in ASL 1. And Drew's taken the class before. That's why he's like, I have complicated questions for you. But shoulder placement is part of ASL, and it's kind of typically taught more complex in like ASL 2, level 2. But you can do your shouldering to show like it's different answers, like different problems, not just the same number over and over. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
So if you're like 80, 80, 80, 80, that. Okay? All right. So now for our numbers. What I was going to say for our 100. What's really nice is for 100, 1,000, and 1,000,000. All you have to worry about is a new sign for that word, basically, and that's it. Okay? It just kind of adds on to our number. So the sign for 100, is going to be, you're going to start with a 1 because we're doing 100 right now. So 1, and you're going to pull it back into a C. Oh my goodness, excuse me. 100, 100, 100. And it's coming back. So like it's forward. Like if I'm angled, like you guys are looking at the side profile, it's 100, 100. It comes back towards me. 100, 100, 100, 100. So if you were going to do 200, what you're going to do is you're going to go 200, 200, 200, 100. 300 would be 300, 300. Yep, it caught you for a minute there. You were about to go 600. So 300, 300, 400, 400, 400, 500, 500, 500, 600, 600, 600, 700, 700, 700, 800, 800, and then 900, 900, 900. So, like I said, it's very repetitive, that same kind of motion. I think it honestly is helpful though, because it's like the word we say 100. We don't always, it's not like we have a completely new word for 200. We just say 200. So it's very similar on that. If you were going to say something like 999, all you would do is you would just do that 900 first. So you go 999, 999. Okay. So like I said, if you remember, and I said, you will know how to do 999 all in one hand. We have not grabbed this other hand yet, except maybe to control the other one, but we have not had to use it, which I don't know. I just think that's so cool. That's like almost like a cool party trick. To be like, I know how to count up to 999 on one hand. Because, most people can't count past 5. They won't. They're just like, it's impossible. You can't do that. So, okay, now we're going to do our 1,000. All right. So for our 1,000, what you're going to do is we do need to bring our other hand into this one. You're going to have your non-dominant palm up. Your dominant hand is going to start at that 1, because again, we're doing 1,000. And you're going to go 1,000. Okay. And you want to make sure you go at the palm of your hand, like basically right before it becomes your wrist. You're going to go 1,000, 1,000, 1,000. And I typically do have it more, I know I kind of angled it weird, in front of me. I'm not necessarily sideways like this. I'm more facing, like my hand is facing towards you, and I'm doing it in front. 1,000, 1,000. Again, this is another one where you can do 2,000, 2,000, and so forth. We will not go through those again. I know you're like, please don't make me count all the way to 10 again. But what I was going to say, what also is nice is you can, and I don't think I've ever actually mentioned this implicitly said it. I think it was explicitly. Oh my gosh, I can't talk. I've never explicitly said this, but I think it was implicitly implied. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm gonna stop saying these words. Is if you were going to do 10,000 or 80,000, you would still do 10,000 or 80,000. Okay. So that's almost that place value for the 80s and that 10,000 area is you would just add that number still. And that also can go for the hundred. So if you're saying 800,000, 800,000, 800,000, it just kind of adds. Okay. So 800,000. Yeah. So see, you gotta get really big numbers and only just 3 signs, which is very nice. Okay. So before we start to practice some more with that, I'm going to also give you now the millions sign because it's similar to thousands. Okay. So you're going to have your palm again, face up. And we're now going to do 1,000, but we're going to add a bounce. Okay. So it goes one for million, you go 1 million, 1 million. And I'm gonna turn it sideways so you can see, I'm typically going million. So I'm bouncing from the palm to right before my fingers start to spread out. So million, million. So 1 million, million. And again, 5 million, 5 million, 9 million, 9 million. And again, that also can transfer over to 900 million. I'm just going to leave it at that. 900 million. So that's why I said is you get really, really big numbers. You just have the same little thing you have to add every time. So a little fun story. And then, oh, good. Sorry, they are not patient right now. Yes, 1,000, 1,000, basically. I always think of it as a bump. I don't know why. I think of it like I'm hitting like this is where I can't like, I think it's the math teacher in me because we do place values. I'm thinking of the grouping of like 1, 10, 100, then here 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, and the millions is like, here's that bump where it stops because like here's this and then bounce. That was my thing. But whatever works for you guys. If you're like 1,000, yeah, do it. I realized I'm starting to explain this. I was like, no, I need to just come back. But I was gonna say what's a really fun thing that can be really cool to see is a lot of people I think expect deaf kids to not always have as much of the fun teasing and joking and play on words like normal typical hearing kids do. No, they do. They very much do. One of my favorite things, I tell the story every time, is when I was teaching 6th grade, I had one student and he was talking about his grandmother. And I'm trying to remember what we were talking about, but he said something and he was talking about how old she was. And so he went, she is boom, 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 boom. And he just kept bouncing to emphasize like the billion, zillion, trillion, million, all that typical kids, well, they'll just add all those words to be like, oh, I'm 1,900 billion, twillion. Yeah, he did that. And he just kept going bum, 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 bum. And he even pretended like it just kept going. And I love it. It's one of my favorite stories. I told him that is not nice. Be nice to your grandmother. But I was laughing to myself too. I was like, that was just funny. So,
well, I always find it funny a little bit too that, you do the same thing with the actual sign for grandmother that you bounce it twice as if like, your grandmother's so old, like you bounce 1,000 million. Now you're doing grandmother. My grandmother's 1,000,000 years old, man,
I mean, literally. And so it's just really fun. How you can kind of get comfortable and play with ASL. And I just love watching kids when they play with play on words because they do that. They will do that. I mean, they are just the same as hearing kids when it comes to like play on words and everything like that. You are totally good. But anyways, I just thought I'd add that because I always think that's a fun story that helps kind of like, I don't know, makes you think about the millions. So what we're going to do, let's see. Okay. How are we feeling on numbers right now? Are we feeling pretty good? Feeling like, or is there a few numbers specifically you want to go over? We'll go over the 100, 10, 100,000s and millions again, but I want to see if there's any specific area of numbers besides those 3 that
Hey,
you guys.
Gillian.
Yes.
I also wanted to say, I'm going to share the numbers video or the numbers quiz that we have from an earlier class. So be thinking over the course of the week between this class and looking at that quiz. If there are any that are confusing, we can go over those at the beginning of the next class before we do time and all that stuff.
Yes. But yes, I was going to also say numbers is one of those ones where you just got to practice it. It's like the ABCs. Once you get them down, you got them pretty much down. And like I said, just remember the pattern to it. Don't stress too much on like, oh my gosh, I can't remember. It's going to be fun. And the next thing with it is like, if you forget those numbers, like for 20, like you forget the sign for 23, the sign for 21, you can, in a situation where you really just need to get that number point across, you could do 23, 2, 3, 2, 5, that sort of thing. I cannot promise that someone may not tease you on it and go, oh, 23, 23. But most of them are not going to be like angry. How dare you say 23? It's not, they're not, most of the people are not going to judge you for that.
There's
So,
also our class motto. You can also always finger spell it.
when in doubt, like you will hear that as the classes go on. I'm like, when in doubt, finger spell. And this is one of those times when in doubt, just put your numbers. So, I mean, if you really needed to, you could do 1-1. I would recommend not, but you could for emergency purposes. Yes. So, okay, let's go over our hundreds and thousands again. Okay. Sorry. So I don't know if anyone saw the question. It was asking about for the numbers 1 through 5, just themselves, would you have your palm facing inward or outward? When you're doing your numbers, you do want to do it this way, facing out. If you did it this way, that's not going to make a big difference. But that one can be a little, gets very ASL 2, level 2 and 3 complications. It's not that it would be wrong. It's just, it gets to be a little bit more like, okay, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you. Okay, I shouldn't, but I'm gonna do it. If you're gonna do first, second, third place, that kind of thing is where you go first, second, third, fourth, or third, like first. You add a little shake to them to almost add that est sound, or when we're talking about like, I'm trying to think of some others, any kind of different ways we say like once, twice, things like that almost deal. You kind of come in with a different hand movement. So I recommend for the 1 through 5s keeping them facing outward, just because if you do it this way, they may think you're talking about third place instead of not 3, Does that make sense? Again, it wouldn't be the biggest deal in the world, but just better safe than sorry.
Why don't we do 2 as the thumb and the forefinger?
So for this one, I think it's because when you're doing like 24 or 26, I think it's because they're too close. They try to add that difference. I'm doing 22 and that's not even 22. It's always 22. But like, because you still have 2 fingers up and then that 24. It's a little bit of a smoother motion. I think it does come also regionally. For those of you who have not heard of this yet, is that basically ASL can be, has its own dialect in the sense of that regionally, there are signs here that we use that may up in North and like New York, they do not use. They may use a different sign for it. It's really interesting. ASL is not a universal language, as some people like to think. Every country has its own sign language. So there is like Spanish sign language. There is British sign language. They're very different. French Sign Language is also one. There are similarities, but there are differences. What is nice though is that if you do have at least some starting of a language, there's still ways to get across through the different signs. The biggest one we mostly are similar to is French Sign Language, because ASL Sign Language actually derives from France. So just a cool little history fact right there, as our ASL was developed related with French Sign Language. So that one's the most similar. You would think British Sign Language is, but it's not. So, but yes, but like I was saying, there are dialects. So some people do signs slightly different. Like the biggest one I think of is ketchup. And I know we're not talking about food right now, but ketchup sign, the sign for ketchup is different. I mean, even just from Tennessee to Alabama. I had a coworker who had the sign for ketchup at her school. And when she came here, was like a teacher and she was signing it to our kids. The kids were like, what are you talking about? I don't know what that is. And then they'd be like, or they'd ask her, I want ketchup. And she'd be like, I don't know what that is. And we finally, they figured it out. It's the same word, but different signs. So different areas can have their own kind of different sign for it. And I'm wondering if that, like that too, or this might have been also a kind of a connection one that became more used. So, but yeah. Okay, let's do our hundreds real quick. And then I'm going to leave it open for questions. I know it has money, but I feel like I've thrown so many numbers at you guys that I'm going to not do money. We'll try to start it and kind of touch it next week. I do not want to overwhelm y'all too much right now. Okay, let's do our hundreds. So we have, let's say we have, we'll do it easy, 222. Okay, so 222. Okay. You know what? Let's just go with we're just gonna keep all the same numbers. So 333. So 333. Okay. Then 444. So 444. Okay. And then we'll stop at 555. 555. Okay. Let's now do 678. Okay, we're gonna go very slow, everyone. So 678. Okay, good question. You typically do want to kind of, let's see. As a lefty, I automatically go this way. But that is because if you look like I guess from this perspective now, well, no, I guess not. I'm not going to worry about the camera. For me, from what another person's watching it, is I'm going, no, that wouldn't be right. I think you would just keep going out. Sorry, I'm trying to get too complicated with my lefts and my rights right now. You would kind of bounce it out. Because if you did this, like 68, you could. I don't know. I'm so used to doing the outward. I'll check on that actually. I'll just check and see, kind of ask. That's a good question that I think I'm sitting here trying to think and I'm overanalyzing it. Because then I'm like, well, what's the difference between the lefties and the righties on this part? But I'm going to double check on that. I'm going to wait and see how I do it tomorrow. And then I'll get back to you guys on that next Tuesday, if that's okay with everybody. Sometimes you get too deep in it and you just kind of spiral and it's like you have to back out of it for a minute. But I'll check on that. Okay, let's now do 1,000. Okay. We'll make it easy. We're going to do 1,234. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so 234. Okay, 34. I go sometimes I don't, if you notice, I don't always bounce. I'll just go 34. That is okay as well. 34, 34. Either way. Okay. Let's see. Let's do another 1,001. Let's do 9,876. We are keeping a number pattern here, so we do not lose our place. Okay. So 9,800. Yep, you got it. 876. Okay. So 76. Yeah. Okay, good. You're like, my fingers are just moving all over the place. We'll do it again. So we had 9,000. 800. 70. 6. Yeah, I could see so many of y'all are like, whoa, wait a minute. We have these, that was actually a lot harder than I thought. I'm so sorry. I should not have picked that. Those are the 4 most commonly flipped numbers. Whoops. Okay. Let's now do 1,000,000. We'll go to 1,000,000 and then we'll kind of stop for there. And then I'll leave it open for questions. Okay. We're just going to do 200 and nope. We're going to do 2,300,000. Okay. So just 2,300,000. So 2 million. Okay. 300,000. Okay. So I think the best I would recommend to do is when you are saying those, thinking of those numbers, think of how you would say it really like that word almost pretty much, where you say the 2,300,000, like you're voicing it almost to your head. Okay. I think that probably is the best way to keep up with it. I mean, I have to do that sometimes. Is when I'm doing numbers, I have to kind of keep my pace with it. So, okay. Does anyone have any questions right now? I know we have done so many numbers and so many different things. Does anyone have any questions?
Could you show decimal and percent as well?
Okay, I should have known. He's gonna go right for me because I know I'm a teacher because he knows I love my math. So decimal is literally just like a little pinch and you go decimal. Like you're almost like a peck, like a woodpecker, like you peck. So decimal. So if you were gonna do 3.5, you'd go 3.5. 3.5. Yeah. So that one's a very simple one. You just add that point where that little point wherever it is going to go. And then for percent. So let's say you were going to have 20%. You would do 20, and then you're going to go start with a 0, and you're going to go percent. 20%. 20%. And the reason this is zigzag is because I know I'm turning mine and I need to keep it this way for you guys. Is there's the O, that first circle, you're gonna go zig across down, make that diagonal motion of the hash slash, and then you end with that O again. So percent. So if you were gonna do 20%. And the reason I turn it forward is you don't always have it this straight outward. You can turn it slightly more forward comfortably. Percent. Okay. Veronica, did you have a question? I saw you had unmuted yourself.
Well, it was kind of similar to what he was asking. I know you said you would cover money next week, but I was gonna ask, like, if you're doing, 223 cents or whatever. I just like the cent sign, is it close to decimal sign or because are you saying the decimal? Or, I mean, how did people know that you're not saying like,
A decimal versus like a
2.2?
value
Yeah.
kind of deal?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you were talking about money, there are two ways when you have like that decimal, that's percent, that cent in there. You can do the first way where you can talk about the dollar. So this time for dollar. It's like you pull in the fingers out. Yeah, dollar. You could do $220. And then what you do, like, let's say it's 50 cents, is you would do 50 and you point here, cents. This is like cent. So $250. I changed my numbers on it. $230. 50 cents. You can kind of do cents, 50 or 50 cents. Okay, so this is cent. The other way you can do is just do the typical, like you say, money. It's like holding it like flash, and then you're just patting it on your hand, money. You could do money 230.5. You can add that decimal there, that 0.5. But I would do that money sign before, just so they know that you were talking about money. Like if they're asking you like how much is in their account or things like that, and you're like 230.5. So you can do it the way where you separate it out by dollars and then cents, or you can just do money in that decimal. Kind of either way works. So yeah, I mean, we did just get into our little cents right there, money thing, which is fine. I mean, I loved it. I said, I'm not going to stress you out. And then just, wait, I have questions about money. I'm like, okay, we got this. I think we pretty much got that. Actually, yeah, we pretty much did that. I was going to do one more sign for y'all because we did our money. Last one, I promise. Last one is coins. Because we already were starting on our list of money. I'm like, might as well go with it. Coins is going to be a 9. And you have your non-dominant palm up. And you're going to pat it like this. Coins. coins. But yeah, this is dollar. What's really nice is, like how we have nickels, dimes, pennies, all those words for them. You just do 1 1 cent, 10 cents, or 10 cents. I think you do typically do it front. Sometimes when you're doing big numbers, you change it, but point out 10, point 5. I mean, point to your head 5. There's no fancy words for like nickels and stuff. There's no new sign. It's just 5. And that's because the context of it is that the information there, the actual content of that information it is just 10 cents. That sort of thing. So, but yeah, okay. We have like 1 minute. Are there any questions about that? I know I kind of threw our money at the very end. We'll go through that again next week, kind of when we start our next class. We'll kind of review it. And then, yeah. So any questions right now? No? Okay. I recommend again, with numbers, anytime you see numbers out and about, practice spelling, like signing your numbers. Same way I did with the ABCs. I recommend that. That mainly one, it'll help you remember them, but it also helps your hand get used to that movement. That's like my biggest recommendation is the more you don't have to have the conversation with someone and sign all the numbers, but like just look around you, just kind of look at the numbers that are all around your surroundings and practice because your hands will get more used to moving that way. So yeah. But alrighty, Miss Katie, do you have something else to add at the end?
No, I was just gonna say, if you do think of something during the week, you please email me. If you have a question, I can get in touch with Gillian. Especially if you've got a special kind of sign that you'd like to learn about. And yeah, that's all. Y'all have a great week.
Yep. I will see you guys all next Tuesday. Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.